Conversation about the Abraham Accords. I'm very excited to be doing this. My name is Morgan Ortegas. I am the spokesperson for the U.S. Department of State. I'm joined today by my friend Hend Ataiba, the secretary at the Bahraini Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and of course, Lior Hayat.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thanks, guys, for all of our countries. And I wanted to hear particularly from you, not about what this means, like just from a policy perspective. I think we all country what it has the potential to mean to your publics. And of course, given the historic and unprecedented nature of the Abraham Accord. Good morning and good afternoon in the Middle East.
Good afternoon.
So who wants to start? Go ahead. Maybe we should do ladies first. One of the ladies.
Thank you for having that official. It was a significant, professional, and personal honor. It was a very moving and inspiring moment, caught up with a very distinct impression of Israel and the Israeli people, despite the complete lack of interactions more than our similarities. But I think when you look at our three countries now, there is a striking alignment of outlook and aspirations, vision for the region. We're witnessing the desire to live a healthy, fulfilling. In surveys, young Arabs say they care much less about generations-old ideological disputes than they do about their ability to.
Actually got to say hello to you at the ceremony at the White House, so that was definitely a great moment for all of us.
It was an historic moment. I remember the exact moment when we heard about the announcement. I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in order to be part of the peace process in the Middle East, in order to create a new reality. And I remember when my diplomacy is, so I told them that I work in construction. I build bridges. I build bridges between nations. I build bridges between cultures, between hints. In a historical moment when the first El Al flight came all those years about. This is it. This is a bridge we're building, and this is a new reality we are creating all together. And I have to say, just to begin, for our American allies, we couldn't have done it without you. It's so important, the effort to bring peace to this region, a region that is known for conflicts and known for wars, but now in the last few weeks,
thank you very much, first of all, Morgan, for having us today. When this signing happened with a lot of excitement, a lot of pride, we were proud to be part of this historic opportunity to pave the way for a long history of coexistence. We have different religions and sects living vital, and we have a long history of coexistence. So what happened principles, and of course in our politics, into written and into written documentation for such a historic moment.
That's such a great point, and this all feels so personal to me. And in and out of UAE and Bahrain more times than I can count, working in the Middle East for the U.S. government. But at the same time, I converted to Judaism, so at nations, and just on a personal level. I mean, even as a Jewish woman, I definitely spent more time in UAE and Bahrain. It's something that I know maybe I would see it in my lifetime, but I didn't think I'd. But this is actually, I think, another good transition. I have another question for Lior. So the last peace agreement achieved between Israel and an Arab nation was, of course, 1990. I'll do another call with Sudan soon. But these are the first agreements for most Israelis, young people. What does it mean for the kids that are going to grow up in a different Middle East, one that's totally different than what.
For a peaceful or peace agreements with our neighbors, it took us 30 years, more years to reach 3 peace agreements in a very short time, and hopefully more countries will join this. And I think that it definitely changed. Israel considered itself an island. Although we are geographically not an island, not unlike Bahrain, the world goes through our connections in the West or for Israel, and I do believe in that. Of countries, one that will desire a better future for their kids will choose war and violence, and the stronger the first group will be, and the stronger the first coalition.
That's great. Thank you, Lior. I think we all watched the historic ceremony at Ben Gurion Airport following the first direct passenger flight from the UAE to Israel, freedom for Israelis and Emiratis to travel, fly, work together, go on vacation. But for Hind Al Utaiba, these agreements span Emirati citizens. All of these new agreements that have been signed.
What's important to know, we want to ensure they see the greatest benefit from this relationship. These agreements mean high-value jobs. Our countries are already the region's leading technology, finance, and science hubs, and this accord will provide more opportunities in these essential sectors. The UAE and Israel also signed an agreement on COVID-19 research and development in line with it from this cooperation in the health sector. And aside from the tangible benefits, the UAE already had the strongest passport globally even before the accord. The Emiratis see their country as one of the I also believe there is a widespread consensus in the UAE, backed up by a lot of polling within Seen, showing that young Arabs have lost confidence in the old ways of doing things.
About losing confidence in the old way of doing things, and Arab youth wanting to look at new ways of approaching the Middle East as well. On October 19th in Manama, Bahrain, of course, Bahrain and Israel signed a historic joint communique, their relationship and their bilateral relationship. Bahrain and Israel also signed memorandum on agriculture, telecommunications. So, of course, over to Dr. Arwa Al-Saeed, the signing of these joint communiques in Manama, and let our audience know what Bahrain's agreement to normalize relationships, what are the practical implications of these new agreements that have been signed?
Yes, Morgan, indeed, it's historic. So another historic same table. We discussed what we want, for the future for our children in this region. The wine agreements and MOUs, because we sat together and we discussed ways where we can benefit from each other, learn from each other, open in transportation, telecommunication, and as you mentioned, the civil service, finance, and banking, and a lot more. Well, we are signing into opportunities where the two countries, the generation of two countries can segment where we can benefit. So you can imagine how much opportunities, we're opening for both sides. Because as we were mentioning in this discussion, I a long time ago, but now we are working and making it happen really, to have a prosperous future opportunities to benefit from one another. And that's why in Bahrain, we are very much looking forward to seeing the results of these MOUs, and we're actually working.
I love that you use the word opportunity so much in your answer, and I feel like that's what the young people of all four of our nations are really clinging to. And so that's sort of the immediate thing. But beyond COVID, of course, from business and technology, I think, at least I sense from all of our nations that weren't available just a few months ago. So we have time for one more discussion point with all of us. But of course, during this with Israel by the countries in the Middle East, in the span of less than a month, was something which nobody thought was possible. Of course, the Abraham Accords and related agreements matter to us as diplomats. So in closing, I want to hear about all of your perceptions for what the future holds now that the Abraham Accords have opened a path for peace in the region. Do you think I think in short, what I'm asking is what are the practical implications of how the Abraham Accords are going to change the Middle East? Let's see. Lior, why don't we let you go first?
I have to tell you, when I visited both Bahrain and the UAE, I felt very much at home, and I felt that I think the most important thing is that we want that the people of the UAE, Israel, and Bahrain, important thing is to work together towards a better connection, having, and obviously businessmen coming to Israel. And those are the most important thing, that getting to know one another. It will really change the perspective both from Israel. The basis of this new relationship should be partnerships in science, in Abrahamic Accord, and the new agreements that we signed, that will definitely see for the next few years a growing get to visit those countries, to find partners there. And I think this is going to be the main issue that the Israeli.
For us, Morgan, the Abraham Accord really reflects the fact that it is time, shows that countries can have political differences while continuing to work together towards the common objective of peace and prosperity, of enthusiasm for new opportunities, for cooperations that now exist. Our decision to establish relations over the past couple of months as more countries recognize the benefits of initiating peace with Israel. The region also urging and special in many ways, and we hope that...
Great. Oh, Arwa, let's finish with you.
Yes, the principles that were in the Abrahamic Accords are principles of those principles together in one document that we all signed. We're actually now translating the thing. Now we are living it, actually, not only greeting each other by it.
That's great. That's beautiful. Well, listen, we've never done anything like this. For your reflections on the meaning and the impact of the Abraham Accords, I think that this achievement will definitely continue to bear fruit for generations to come. And I'm humbled. So I hope all of our viewers, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I hope we can do more of this if this is interesting to everyone. And just to all of your countries, to all of you as communicators and spokespeople for our countries, thank you guys.
Thank you so much.